So I just kind of want to give you a short recap of the relationship John and I had and how he became a director of Another Child Foundation, not the director, but the president and one of the co-founders. So John started going to Romania in 2001 and started serving children there in the same area in which we were at, clear back in 2001. So that's, 24 years ago, he started this ministry. And then in 2009, God brought him and I together. And in 2010, Another Child Foundation was born on this dream of really helping the Roma children there in the Tarnaven, Romania area. And he's been very blessed. He's blessed us a lot. He's been a great provider for all the ministry that's been going on in Romania. But so John was an integral part of that. And actually the Another Child Foundation name, the Another Child, was something that John thought of because when we started, of course, we didn't have a name. And we were looking for a name that we could use. And John said Another Child, because what that does, it keeps us looking forward to the next part of our ministry. So as we help one child, there's always another child that's going to need help. So that is kind of the reason we come apart with that Another Child name. So one of the things I just want to share some of the stories of John. I mean, I only did missions trips with John twice. We went to Romania a few times together, but really on mission. I think we only did it like a trip and a half. I went with him for a few days on one trip, and then we served together on another trip. So I really didn't see John in action that much in Romania. But when I did, he was always that guy. He was like the Pied Piper. Whenever he walked into a room, the kids would just flock with him, and he could have fun with them. He could sing with them. He knew the language pretty well. So John was always be able to interact with the kids very naturally. And he was such a blessing. And we've had many people on these trips that went to Romania with us. Just was always highly positive on how John interacted with the children. That's where his heart was. And so we're just blessed to have that. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen before we get too far in here. And and then, yeah, so I just wanted to bring up this picture of John, actually, just to start it with. And okay, hopefully you can all see that. Yeah, so what John was, I mean, that was John. If you look at that picture, yeah, you can just see his love for the children and how comfortable they were around John. So the legacy of John is really some of those things that we just talked about. How he just really loved to be around these children and how he impacted. And he truly, really did affect the lives of many, many children there in Romania. Okay. Yeah, so then on one of his last trips, he wanted to share, he shared with me a story. So back in December, he went on a trip in October, and then in December, he decided to share with me a story that God had put on his heart. And he had a heart, he said God showed him something that was going to happen in Romania, and he wanted to pursue this. And it was really a youth center for the children in Romania. So a lot of our kids, when they come out of our programs, we have programs through the 8th grade. And then after the program, really we have continuing contact with them, but we don't have a structure with those children. And he says, I can see a youth center. And him and I talked quite often about how we could maybe get a church involved, how we could start a church. But we didn't really want to come into the gypsy culture and create a church that was an American type church. The culture over there in Romania it's very different, especially within the gypsy culture. And starting a church, an outside group starting a church in a gypsy culture would be very difficult and probably not even happen. It'll be effective. But we think that this youth center, worship center, could be something that we could do. So we're really excited about that and how it can not just be a gathering place where kids can get together as a youth group, but also become a worship center, which is very exciting. So yeah, so in our last conversations, he just shared with me that passion for that next program. And so we shared that with a couple of his good friends. And suddenly we hadn't raised enough money to actually go out and purchase a home that was well suited for what we tried to do. So we've had some board members go over and see it. I haven't actually seen it yet physically. I've done a virtual tour of it and things, but I haven't actually seen the center yet as it sits today. But it is going to change, and so we got some good plans there. And one of the things, there's two quotes I just wanted to share. One of the things that John said to me, and I tried to, it's not an exact quote because I didn't write it down, but what he's basically said is he wanted these children to have a place that they can call their own. Because the Point of Hope Center is a place they go to, and it's very structured and stuff there. But I think this youth center could be a little bit different. It could be a place where youth can join and come, and it could actually become kind of their place where they can do kind of their own things there instead of being under direction of the staff. Of course, they'll be monitored and stuff, but it'll be a little bit different atmosphere within that. He said a place where they can meet Jesus and build friendships that will last a lifetime. So that is one of the things that John envisioned for the Reeve Center, the John Frank Reeve Center. The other thing I want to cover here real quick was the impact of what is happening at the Point of Hope. So the Point of Hope is through the 8th grade is creating some great results. The results are very good. So the kids who are coming through the 8th grade are in good spiritual shape. They're in good physical shape and emotional shape. They're very well suited for what comes next. But unfortunately, we're limited a little bit on the Point of Hope on what that can offer. But what we're getting out of the 8th grade, these students are very well suited, but they're also right in their transformational years. So, being 13, 14, 15 years old is very difficult no matter what country you live in. So when they go into high school, things can change for them. While we do monitor the kids and we keep track of them, we really don't have as much, I don't want to say control, but we don't have as much influence on their lives as we could. So we think this youth center will be perfect for that. Not only that, not only can be named after John, but it's really going to embody the core values of what John was all about, his faith, and then the safety and opportunities really for every child. So we kind of look at it as a community center as much as a youth/worship center. And it's really the extension of the Point of Hope. So it's the next stage of what the Point of Hope could be. So we're really excited about that. And it's really about all bringing glory to God. So I want to do next is I want to share. So we have one out and we've purchased the building. But what I want to do is kind of show you some pictures. These pictures were taken by a mission team. I think it was Jessica Hoodle, one of our board members, took them on her trip over in June. So this is right after we purchased it. The property pretty much still looks like it does here in these pictures. We've made a few modifications I'll talk about here as we've started the process of the renovation. But this is what the building looks like. It's a typical Romania home. From the view of an American, it might look pretty rough. But in Romania, this is pretty much of a typical home that we would have. Of course, we're going to transfer it into a youth center, but right now it's built for like a home. Here's another picture of the outside. So what you can see is a lot of room there by that tree. You'll see the girl in the pink shirt there, kind of in the middle of that picture. You can see a larger yard area there and really some pretty trees and a couple outbuildings that are probably going to end up leaving. They're probably not in very good shape, and really we don't have a practical use for them. For a home, they had probably some animals in there or some storage for feed or something like that for their family. So it's not real practical for us. So those buildings will probably come down. I want to go back to that picture. So you see the roof. The roof is typical clay tiles. It's usually like a stucco finish on the outside of the house. Very strong. Though usually the bones of these houses are very strong. So the structure itself is solid, even though it has, it's old and it needs some work. Here's another picture of the outside. You'll see the building. The house really has two entranceways. The one with the rounded steps there on the right, and then the steps here. And then you'll see kind of in the middle there, it's a place that goes down into a cellar area, which is important in Romanian homes for food storage and things like that. And then interior, I mean, it's a pretty much a typical Romanian home on the inside. Lots of tile and stone. They usually don't use drywall. Usually it's just like a stucco plaster finish on the walls or just brick walls. So this is pretty typical of what the rooms would look like. This is one of the entryways for the home. And there's one of the bigger rooms there. And we'll be removing some walls, and I'll talk about that during the renovation to kind of open up the house to be a little bit more well-suited for a gathering place rather than a home with individual rooms. Just like the US now, we all open up our houses, take out as many walls as we can, as long as it can hold up the roof. And then we're going to kind of do that a little bit with this, even though we're going to be somewhat limited. We might have to just open up walkways instead of actually taking out walls. But we'll see how that all goes. And then one of the more exciting things is on the end of the property is this bigger field. Right now it has corn that's standing up 8 foot tall, ready to be harvested. But here in June, the corn was just coming up. But that's a pretty large acre. We see lots of possibilities here potentially for having children man this, youth, not really children, youth, high school age kids actually manage this and maybe grow some produce and sell it and try to become, so we can use it as a teaching or expansion. So there's possibilities with this piece of the property. So we're really kind of excited about that. But there is some, I don't say concerns, but there's some hurdles we're going to have to do as far as putting the home into the proper situation so it can be used best. So I'm going to share now some pictures of the what would be architectural renderings, I guess, of what the building could look like. So this is, I don't want to say pie in the sky, but it is on the nicer end of what could be possible. So think of that one picture. So I want you to think of this picture here, right there. So this is almost the same angle. You see the two entryways in the cellar, and then you kind of look at this picture and you can kind of get a feel for what the home could be. So you'll see a lot more green space there out front, a finished roof, of course, new windows, new stucco, some landscaping. This would be, a finished product, of course, but that is one picture of what the home could end up looking like. Inside, it's going to be very modern looking. We're going to replaster the walls and get some fresh paint and new flooring in there, new lighting. And this is just like a kitchenette type thing. So it's not going to have a full-blown kitchen, but it will have some a kitchen area there and some eating room there too. And then this is a bedroom. So one of the things we're thinking about is a multiple purpose building here. It's not a huge house, but it does have room for some bedrooms. So this could be a place where mission teams could stay, or it could be, we have a youth like I don't want to say a lock-in, but something like that where the youth could stay the night there if they're having a weekend retreat there at the center. So we can have some bedding there, some bunks for the kids to stay in, or for mission house. This is just another picture of what the finished hallway, I guess, would look like. And then if you really want to go big, we could add a second floor to it too, which would really be awesome. And that upstairs would more be like the worship area is what we're thinking. So we could add a second floor to this property. And so kind of excited about that. So I'm going to stop my share, make sure there's nobody else looking to get in right now. Yeah, so that's kind of what the building would look like. I'm going to go ahead and share again. You can get back to the presentation. Yeah, so this is what the building would look like, but probably it's going to look more like, more like that first picture, more like this. I think this is a realistic view of what it can look like when we're all done. Yeah, a lot of green space. It'll be a nice, beautiful place for the children. Um, so if you have any questions, remember you can put them into the questions or into the chat box if you have that. So just a reminder. So if you saw something there you had a question about, feel free to ask that question. Um, then I just want to share a couple things. We call this Voices of Hope. And really what this is really I just want to share you why this is important. And so I've talked to a couple of the teachers or one teacher and a staff member about the potential for what this building could be. And they are really excited because they think there's a lot of challenges for these kids uh, to stay focused on their education and on their faith when there's so many outside distractions in their community. Um, they tend to stray away. Maybe not all of them. Some of them are more found rooted, but a lot of them have that potential of straying. So this is really important for our older youth. So the kids who are transitioning from the Point of Hope Center through the 8th grade into the older youth. Um, so this would be a great place to have these kids transition to. And yeah, so we're really excited about what this could be for those children, and the teachers are all excited about the potential for having these older kids be able to meet on a regular basis. We're not sure what programming will look like at this point, um, but it could be something that 2 or 3 nights a week different youth could gather there. You could have a girls' Bible study night on Tuesday night, and the boys do another night, and then they get together for game nights or things like that. So um, but overall, we think that the impact it's going to have for these youth is going to be substantial. We think it's really going to be uh, a substantial impact on the lives of these children. Um, yeah, so really that's kind of what I wanted to share there. So the next thing really comes down to how we are going to uh, phase this in. So it's really there's 4 basic phases in which this building will be renovated. So the first one is really to secure the building. Really, that's been completed. What we've done there is we've had some money donated, and we've put a big secure fence all the way around the property. There was a fence there, but it was pretty sketchy. So we've completely torn that out. We put a whole new fence around. So we've done that. We've replaced a few of the windows. A few of the windows were okay, but now we got all the windows secured. And then we put in some sort of security system, basically like ring type doorbells in there. So now we can monitor uh, the building when it's not being occupied. And right now it's not being occupied, but now it's secure. So for the most part, that has all been completed. So phase 2 would really be to winterize the building. So what we need to do there is we need to make sure that the roof is not leaking. They think they've done a pretty good job of that. They've replaced a few of the tiles, but it could mean that we have to replace part or all of the roof. We're not sure yet, but they think they got a good handle on that. And then we also need to put in heating. There was no heating in there at this point. It was either torn out or it was like a wood burning. So they need to put in some good uh, heating elements in there to be able to keep the building warm this winter. Uh, so that would be a lot of the cost to winterize. And we're going to cost about $15,000 to do that. And they're hoping to have that done by November 1st before the really cold weather kicks in there in December. So that would be the goal, is to get that all done, winterized, and then they can start working on phases 3 and 4. Once it's, they got heat in there, they can go in there basically anytime and start doing some of the interior structural features, which means basically moving some walls or trying to sturdy up some walls, getting the foundation all secure, those types of things to really make sure that the structure is really good. So when they go in to start doing some other things, that it's going to be structurally sound. So there's not a huge cost there, about $10,000, and that'll include the paint and some flooring, maybe not all the flooring. They're still evaluating how much flooring they have to replace. Because if you know anything about Romanian homes and floor, a lot of them have some beautiful tiles that just need cleaned. Now, a couple of pictures I saw looked like it was more, I don't want to say linoleum, but it looked like it was kind of bubbling, peeling up a little bit. So there's going to be some uh, flooring that needs to be replaced. So we're hoping to get that done, but that'll all be part of the phase 3. So hopefully by the middle of spring, maybe March or April, that'll be done. So late winter, early spring. And then phase 4 will be the bigger cost, and that's all the cabinetry, the fixtures, uh, furnishings, and then any of the landscaping and things like that that need to go into it. So that's kind of the 4 phases that we need to do to make sure that this building, an approximate cost. We're going to have full budgets for all of this. We only had the budgets right now for the phase 1, which is the money that we had already donated, besides the purchase of the building. I think that's where we're at. So really, then it comes down to really the partnership of this is really going to be important. This is where we need your help to help us make this really come to life, to where it can be a building that's going to be used on a regular basis, and the children are really getting a lot out of it. So we need partnerships with this. So we basically have 5 levels. These are 3 levels. The first one is we call it the visionary. And really, this is really kind of what John wanted to do, the big picture type thing. So that a lot of this support will go to really doing the main parts of the renovation. So if you were going to decide to give a gift of $5,000 or more, your money would be used on the initial renovation phase of it to get the big bulky things done. And that's where, so we need a handful of people to become visionaries and give a $5,000 or more. And if you become one of those, just a small little gift. We don't do it because of a little gift, but you're going to get a nice framed photo of the whole building, the whole John Frank Reeve Center. It'll be a nice framed photo of the building. And then this next level is the mentor level. That's 2,500, basically 5,000. And basically what this would be is this would be a discipleship room. So one of the more important things we're going to do is have 1 or 2 rooms that are going to be discipleship rooms. And those will be the rooms where we really do most of our discipleship, our Bible studies and things like that. So if you were to become a mentor, you would get that, and then you would get a framed photo of the discipleship room with the children in there, the youth in there. So if you'd like to help being a mentor, that's what it would take to do that. The third level is a builder. That's 1,000 to 2,499. And basically this would be, if you knew John, very artistic, very musically oriented. So this is kind of what we're doing here. This would be help create our music and creative arts room. So one of the things that we want to be able to do is be able to get some musical instruments in there and get these kids involved so that they can lead worship and things like that. So we'll have some musical instruction there, but we'll have musical instruments and stuff. So if you wanted to give at that level, 1,000 to 2,499, your money would be used mostly to get the art supplies, sound equipment, and musical instruments into this renovation type thing. The third one or the fourth one is the nurture, and that's $500 to $999. And that would be the kitchen. So that's what we would need to help get the kitchen up to full speed. We know kitchens are very expensive with all the fixtures and everything you need there, cabinetry. So we'll need a handful of people. We'll probably need at least a dozen people to come in at this level. That's the $500 to $999. Oh, and I didn't say it, but at the builder level, actually, you'll get a disc of music that's created by the children or the youth at the center. So that would be your gift if you gave a builder's gift. So the nurture gift, you would get a recipe book. So what we're going to do is we're going to put together a recipe book of the kids' favorite recipes that they get to eat at the Point of Hope Center, or maybe in their homes, and we'll put together a small little recipe book, and you would get that as if you give a nurture level gift. And the last one we have is up to $499, and that's the friend, and that would be actually buying chairs and Bibles and any type of educational materials. That's what we would be using your money for, is to get money set up for those types of items. And if you do that, then you'll probably get a personalized, get a Bible, a Romanian Bible, that'll be signed by the children. And that's what you would be getting as a gift to the friend level. Let me see, I want to make sure I got everything covered there. So one of the things that, so other ways, I mean, obviously prayer partners, we're going to have prayer warriors that's going to be involved in this. So we'd really love to have your prayers on that. So if you just wanted to pray, if you said, you know, I can't give financially, but I really want to be part of the prayer, so you can notify us. And you can, we can keep you plugged in, and we'll be giving regular updates on the renovation, where it's at and things like that. And then we'll probably have a mission team. One of the things we'd really like to be able to do is in April, send over a mission team just for construction to maybe do a lot of maybe those final, maybe the phase 3, we're still maybe moving walls or painting or doing some flooring, but really try to do those final things, the landscaping and things like that. So we're hoping to send a team of about 8 men or women over there for that. So if you know anybody that'd be interested in doing some real hands-on work project type thing, that's what you could do. We're thinking probably in the April timeframe, maybe just after Easter, or possibly before Easter. Usually it's the weather gets over there pretty nice in March into April, similar to the upper Midwest here in the US. And then if also, I just want to remind anybody out there that's looking, if your church wants to get involved, if you think maybe your church would like to sponsor one of the discipleship rooms, or maybe they help with a kitchen, we would love to have the church support too. So this isn't all just individuals. It could be church support also. Maybe they could adopt one of the discipleship rooms. I think that'd be pretty cool. Let me see what else we got. So really, I'm going to stop my share, and then we're going to go to Q&A. I'm going to go see if there's any questions in the. I really don't see questions other than in the chat. So Greg asked, do you have a goal when this house will be transformed? So yeah, so I think that was a question. Hopefully I answered, but if not, actually we're hoping by early summer, late spring, maybe in May, to have it fully operational. You know, if the money comes in faster and we have the resources to do the renovation quicker, we could do that. But yeah, so I'm thinking that those 4 phases is kind of I laid out. So over the winter, we'd be doing some of the inside work. And then another question is, will there be a house manager caretaker? There will be. There'll probably be a couple volunteers until we develop a program and kind of see how it's going to evolve. Or just, I'm still letting God just kind of make his way through this. Sometimes I get ahead of myself and I see things that I think I would like to do. So we've kind of taken a step back and just kind of let's get it going and just kind of see how God leads here. So obviously there will be some type of manager or caretaker of the program, but it could be just a couple volunteers, or it could be, I would really love to be able to hire a pastor. We've talked about different people over there in Romania who've shown interest in helping the youth. So that's a possibility that we could hire a pastor, and they would be, not just being at the house during those events, but he could be the one that could do the spiritual disciplines with the children too. Another question that we have is, this was actually asked before, and it was the timeline. But the other part of the question is, will the children be able to use a portion of it before it's actually the renovation is complete? And I think, yeah, I think we could. I think we could definitely use the outside area. So even if the inside isn't completely done, we could use the outside area. I mean, I can envision, fire pit and things like that, outside type things, where they can do some cookouts and, sing-alongs and stuff like that in the evenings. So that could be potential, but probably not too much before it's actually totally complete. The other question we had, and I don't know if I say I misled people, but I kind of talked about how its location is not close to the Point of Hope Center, but it's in the same general neighborhood. So one person asked, how would the children travel safely between the Point of Hope so it could be a walk, but it is a little bit of a walk, so it's not like an easy across the street walk. I think I was told a 15 to 20-minute walk from there. So if we were doing some stuff for the kids at the center and we needed to go, we would use our transportation, our vans to get them there. But most of the time, we're hoping it's the youth that'll be able to walk there in the evenings. Is if they know there's a 6 o'clock event going on, they would just walk there, and it's safe enough there in that community for the kids to walk. That would not be a problem. And then is it going to be supervised transportation or escorts? We thinking for the youth, high school age youth, they're really used to being on their own. So I don't think it'd be a problem for, a handful of kids to walk to the center. Another question I had in advance were expansion. So, they said, if you guys got, all the money raised, what else could be doing? What else could you do? Excuse me. In the future as a long-term vision besides just the renovation. And what we'd like to be able to do is on that property that had the corn growing right now, we'd really love to build a bunkhouse. We think that would be a great place for mission teams to stay. It would reduce the cost of mission teams because they wouldn't have hotels every night. And that is one of the more costly. It's not expensive to stay in hotels in Romania, but it is a cost every night. And if we could stay at a bunkhouse, that could be money that could be going back into the ministry to pay for the caretaker or the pastor, whatever we have. So we'd love to be able to do that. And we're kind of pricing out what a bunkhouse might cost. And we would have mission teams maybe work on that as we go. But the biggest thing as far as future vision, I really see that piece of property on the side with the land with growing is a good opportunity to do a lot of teaching because a lot of these kids are going to be self-sustaining. I mean, they have gardens in their yards and stuff on their property, and they grow a little bit. But boy, we could really teach them and really make that a good program. So we have a lot of people in the Midwest, farmers, who would be interested, I think, in helping educate kids. So it could be something that we could have a mission team going over there and kind of teaching kids how to work the land. So I think that would be a good learning process for them. And that's just another life skill. We talk about the life skills we have in the Point of Hope, where we teach them sewing and woodworking and cooking and things like that. Wouldn't it be great to have a life skill room right there, hands-on in a garden that are actually producing things that they can use for themselves or even sell to others. And the last question I had was, once its center's built, how will the ongoing operational costs be funded? And is there a plan in place for the funding for the programs? So as of right now, no, we haven't actually established what a program is going to look like there because this has kind of come up quick. We purchased the property in June, and now we're just starting to raise the funds. So we're not trying to get too far ahead of ourselves. And the director of Romania has since moved to the US. So he's been busy adjusting to the US. So we haven't put a lot of time into what the program looks like, but I can tell you it will be boy-centered. Our young boys, they'll have programs for young boys, young girls, and then we'll do mix of programs too, where they'll come together. But our goal is really to get volunteers there to take time out to really mentor these children and have a mentoring program in that youth center. And then also one of the other things I wanted to mention that is kind of one of my goals, we'll see, is that we send a lot of humanitarian aid over there. It would be great if that was also going to be our humanitarian aid distribution area and use it more as that community center that we've talked about, to where when it's open, maybe on one day a week, Saturday mornings, we have an opportunity for people to come in and get some humanitarian aid, some clothing, things like that. And I'm not a believer in just continually giving away free stuff. So what I kind of see it is that maybe they help somehow. They help and they get like little coupons or something that would give them, 10 lei worth of clothing or something like that. So not just give, but to have them earn some points, maybe not to give, to pay for items, but maybe they have to earn their way to maybe getting some of this aid. And it could be food, could be clothing, and some other items like that. So I'd really like to see that center also be a community center. So that's kind of that vision of what it might look like in the future. I think that pretty much is. I'm going to share my screen just one last time, and then we'll wrap up. That's the